Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Jose here, welcoming you to another episode of Jose's Amazing Worlds. Still working on the rebranding. To talk about The Revenge of the Rose, which is book 5, I believe, in the Elric saga, according to the Golan's editions, which is the penultimate book in the saga, which I finished reading in my Kindle, and I'm grateful for it because it's way cheaper than what I could buy the physical books for. And considering how I'm feeling about the series, I'm okay. I'm doing it in digital format. So, very quickly, so book 5 in the Elric saga comprises actually 6 different stories. The Revenge of the Rose, written in 1991, Stealer of Souls in 1962, Kings in Darkness, written in 1962 again, The Caravan of Forgotten Dreams, great title, but also written in 1962, then The Last Enchantment, written, guess when, 1962, but not published until 1973, and finally To Rescue Tanelorn, also written in 1962. And I've got some notes here because I'm trying to give some structure to this review. Now, I'm not going to go into spoiler territory here because I'm not going to summarize the 6 different stories. But this is sort of becoming more of an overall opinion on the whole Elric saga. But anyway, so we are firmly into multiverse here. So Elric is fully aware of the existence of the multiverse, and he's literally jumping through different planes of existence. In one of his journeys, he meets a British poet that accompanies him on whatever quest he goes on next. That is problematic because the world building potentially is huge, but yet I think one thing that we have to bear in mind is that these short stories were published in magazines. So, a short 30, 40 page story has to take you from presentation, conflict and resolution in a very short space of time. So there is very limited space, time allowed to build this world in a consistent manner, to the point, and it's sort of reflected also in the writing style, there is barely any descriptive passages whatsoever. Everything is pretty much to your imagination. It's not trying to guide you anywhere. They go through a canyon and they walk out into a forest, and that's as far as it goes. There's no time to be wasted here on descriptions of any kind. This is all plot, action, taking you from A to B to C, and things need to get done, dusted, sorted. And I think that's a fair statement of fact of what goes on in these stories. Also, there is very, very limited character development. I mean, after all the trials and tribulations that Elric has gone through over the last 4 or 5 books, he is still the same physically weak albino, depending on drugs to keep his strength, and also dependent on his sentient sword Stormbringer to feed through the life energy of his adversaries that he kills, and then he sucks up the life out of them to keep himself going. And nothing changes, nothing has changed in that aspect over the last so many books. So again, all these stories are more of a concept of, they are just ideas, they're not even half-baked. There's so much going on in one of these short stories, probably more than in some of the more sort of modern trilogies, but they are so condensed and so packed. They're so very, very tight, and there is limited because of the medium, because of that sort of being published in a magazine in the 60s. There's very limited space to explore and to go places and see things and how things could develop. Unfortunately, to me, this feels almost like continuation of the more pulpy sword and sorcery stories of the 30s, Robert Howard Conan style, even though Elric is not this heroic Conan character, but very much some sort of tragic anti-hero. That sort of what's the made up sentence this day, that subversion of expectations going on there, which fine, I suppose at the time the idea of the multiverse and the character of Elric and everything that happens here went very much against the trend of the time. I just am starting to think that it just wasn't good enough. I think at one point I got a little bit bored of the book. I just read it to finish it. I'm not regretting it. I'm not talking Wheel of Time territory here, but I think I'm glad that there's only one more book left, and by the looks of it, the last book is a much more solid, comprehensive story rather than a collection of shorter episodes in the Elric saga. And it all feels a little bit cheap, and it all feels a little bit cheesy, because whenever Elric is in trouble, he can just summon some otherworldly entity. Otherworldly? Did I just make that up? Anyway, so he can just summon some demon of chaos to help him, fight his enemies and come out victorious. Or at one point, literally out of the sky appears a dragon to take him somewhere. And just precisely at that time, he remembers that in his youth he learned the sing songs, the chanting language of dragons to tame the dragon, ride the dragon, whatever. Everything is always very conveniently available to him to come out of whatever situation he's in without any build-up, without having any background to it. There's always a deus ex machina thing that he can do. And that feels very puerile, very infantile, very childish, very sort of undeveloped to it. So, reading it today, it's just the stories aren't great. I mean, maybe one day I'll do a comparison when I finish the Conan stories, but I think there's a slightly more honest approach. There's a certain more integrity about the Conan stories that there is about Elric. But anyway, I will eventually do a whole sort of series overview. But this is what I had for today. So as usual, thank you ever so much for watching. Please, if you haven't done so, like, subscribe, please comment. Let me know what you think, whether you agree or disagree on my take on The Revenge of the Rose by Michael Moorcock, Book 5 in the Elric Saga, according to the Gollancz editions. Take lots and lots of care, and I'll see you soon. Bye!